Hi, I'm Dr. Philip McMillan, and today I'm having a quick discussion about Andrew Bridgen. He's an MP in the UK, and because many of my subscribers are from different parts of the world, I thought that it would be reasonable to share with you some of the relevant politics that is happening with regards to questions and concerns about COVID vaccines. And what I'll do is I'll also play the statement from Andrew Bridgen, who had been censored by his party, and give you a chance to reflect on what he has said, and also looking at some of the articles about what he has said, so that you can come up with a reasonable conclusion based on your own experience. The reason why this is relevant to me is that I think that we are at a time where it is extremely difficult to be able to challenge the current direction that we're going. And I come from it from a scientific angle, in that I have always said that severe COVID 19 was a viral mediated autoimmune disease. Now, we've done two papers on this, and so far, all of the evidence that I can see supports the fact that it's the immune system's response to an infection that causes a problem. If we have a situation where we can't ask questions, it then means that we are unlikely to find solutions when we're struggling to get forward. So here are just a few basic points about Andrew Bridgen. This is him here. I've gotten his webpage. He's a member of parliament for Northwest Leicestershire. He's been there since 2010. He says he's a hard-working local MP. I don't know him personally, and so I am not making any recommendations on his behalf, just sharing what is here on his webpage. There are a few pictures of him. And critically, this is the news and what he has said in Parliament. You can see that there are two things here that seem to be causing concerns. Here, I'll make this full screen again. A list of supporting references used in vaccine harms debate. This was on the 16th of December. And on the 7th of December, he had asked a question in Parliament about a recommendation to overturn the MRHA recommendation on mRNA vaccines in children. So we can see where he's going and the position that he has taken with regards to his views on vaccination. Now, we can't, there are people who are pro, there are people who are anti. And the truth is that in science, there's very rarely a black and white. There's gray, there's benefits, there are risks. But what we can't have is a situation where science can't be questioned. That's where I find it dangerous, what was being said. And so within that context, that's where he positioned himself in the weeks before that. And then he did a full presentation on in Parliament looking at the risks in terms of mRNA vaccines. Now, again, I won't argue about what he's being said because I've put some important links in the discussion here. One of them is here, which is a full review of the facts with regards to what he said. This is by HART Health Advisory and Recovery Team. And they were looking at his statements and what it was that he said in Parliament and afterwards that could be critically appraised. Here is the bit that is important, and I'm going to play his statement just after this. He was taken out of the party because of a tweet in relation to comparing the rollout of vaccines to the Holocaust, and that's what got him into trouble. Now, I think that this is where we have to be careful because that I will not argue about that because it was clearly an insensitive statement. And probably the timing was wrong after he had made such a serious issue in Parliament. But does it discount everything that he's said? And this is now him responding to that and giving his own perspective on what exactly happened. This is his statement.
I'm disappointed that the Chief Whip Simon Hart, with the support of the Prime Minister, has chosen to suspend me as a member of the Conservative Parliamentary Party. My tweet of 11th of January was in no way anti-Semitic. Indeed, it alluded to the Holocaust being the most heinous crime against humanity in living memory. Of course, if anyone is genuinely offended by my use of such imagery, then I apologise for any offence caused. I wholeheartedly refute any suggestions that I am racist, and currently I'm speaking to a legal team who will commence action against those who have led the calls suggesting that I am. Indeed, the Israeli doctor I quoted in my tweet has stated that there was nothing at all anti-Semitic about the statement. The fact that I have been suspended over this matter says much about the current state of our democracy, the right to free speech, and the apparent suspension of the scientific method of analysis of medicines being administered to billions of people. As I've consistently maintained, there are very reasonable questions to be asked about the safety and effectiveness of the experimental mRNA vaccines and the risks and benefits of these treatments. There are reasonable questions to ask of a government that is considering extending the use of these experimental vaccines to children as young as 6 months of age. These, ladies and gentlemen, are babies. There are reasonable questions about the side effects of mRNA vaccines, especially when we know categorically that the current risk of harm to most of the population, and especially young people, from COVID-19 is minuscule. We have a government who indemnifies vaccine manufacturers from claims against the harms caused by their products, and a government who, it appears, actively look to remove MPs who raise questions about those harms. I was saddened to hear yesterday of my suspension, but I'm not downhearted. I've received huge support from ordinary people, medical workers who are too intimidated to speak out, and of course from those who've experienced vaccine harms themselves or to a loved one. Hopefully, the media interest around my suspension will finally get the issue of vaccine harms into the media, who have been so reluctant to cover this issue for so long, an issue which is clearly of huge and growing concern to many people across the globe. Reasonable questions about the safety and effectiveness of mRNA vaccines must continue to be asked, and I will continue to ask them. If I cannot do that as a Conservative Member of Parliament, then so be it. Highlighting these important questions, questions about life, death, serious injury, must override party loyalty. I owe that not only to my constituents in North West Leicestershire, but also to the wider British public, and especially to our children and young people, who are the very future of our great nation. Thank you very much for listening to me.
That's a very powerful statement. And whatever your views about vaccines, you should hope that your parliamentary representatives are always asking hard questions and seeking to find answers. There's one important thing that I believe from a scientific point of view. I am never worried about misinformation because I know how to answer almost every question around COVID-19. Anything that is said that is improper, I can challenge. I can show where it's flawed. So I'm not concerned about raising questions. Why is anyone else? That only happens when we are not confident in what we are doing and where we are going. That's when censorship can occur. And I asked this very important question on my Substack, and you can see it here. If vaccines are found to cause harm, who is accountable? This is a really important question, and one that we do have to answer, especially in the context where it is not appropriate to challenge the science around a pandemic. We are in difficult times at the moment, And it requires each and every person to be in a position where they are willing to stand up for what they think is right. It doesn't matter if you are correct. What matters is that you stand for what you believe in. From my perspective as a clinician, as a scientist, I have always stood by the science that I noticed very early on in April 2020, that COVID-19 appeared to me as a viral mediated autoimmune disease. Within that framework, I have tried to raise awareness about the science, focus on it. We've done 2 papers. We've seen the evidence from others who have demonstrated autoantibodies and autoimmune type damage. And that's my way of supporting what has been happening across the pandemic. That's my contribution. The question that you have to ask is, what will yours be? We can see that of Andrew Bridgen, and you can argue about if he was right or wrong. Take a look at the articles and see what you come up with. But what are you doing to make a difference? Have a good evening.